Tamara, what do you have to say to the supporters out here today?
Good morning.
Tamara, how are you doing?
I'm great.
You're gonna win, man. You're gonna win.
What's your defense? Why wasn't it criminal? What's your defense?
And so you omit all of the positive things if you're the Crown. Things like bouncy castles, hockey games, and all those other wonderful things that Canadians experienced. Because remember, the final verdict is going to lie with the judge herself. That's what they're going for. They're trying to manipulate the opinion of the judge. Right. So they'll vilify us, and they won't show all the positives in favor of showing all the negatives. And using terms like occupy and omitting bouncy castles is meant to achieve that objective.
Robert Krajcik here in Ottawa, Ontario, just outside the Ottawa courthouse for Rebel News at the end of day one of Tamara Lich's and Chris Barber's trial, where both are being charged with crimes associated with the Freedom Convoy of 2022. These crimes include mischief and obstructing police. Now, what are the major takeaways from the courtroom today? The prosecution opened up its case with an 11-minute video montage composed mostly of body cam footage aggregated from police officers who were on the scene during the Freedom Convoy, and also aerial drone footage that they captured of the demonstration. And it was supported by an Ottawa police officer who was invited as a witness for the prosecution to remark and share his views on what that video entailed and how he came about producing it. Now, the video itself was particularly unremarkable. The defense itself emphasized the selectivity behind its composition, noting that it did not include video or depictions or captures of many moments that Rebel News audience will be familiar with. For example, kids in bouncy castles, Canadians playing hockey on Wellington, Canadians singing the national anthem, hugging each other. None of that happened to be included in this prosecutor's video montage, which of course is designed to secure a conviction. Number two, the prosecutor repeatedly used the term occupation to describe the demonstration, and the defense aptly checked that term as misleading, given that it has a military legal context.
We argued it in court, and I think it's a word that should be reserved for occupations, and particularly at this time when there are Ukrainians under real occupation. It's an insult to them and anybody else who's survived an occupation to be calling what happened here in Ottawa an occupation.
Number three, the police officer who was invited as a witness for the prosecution repeatedly stated on the stand that he composed this video montage, this composition, this compilation, in accordance with directives from the prosecutor's office. They deliberately advised him on how to do this. Now, when he was asked whether or not this video montage was representative of the overall vibe and atmosphere of the Freedom Convoy, he said yes, but when cross-examined by defense attorneys, essentially acknowledged that it wasn't, given that he deliberately omitted and excised the moments that we just remarked on. If you want to help Tamara Lich combat this political persecution, please go to helptamara.com and share what you can. If you want to help us at Rebel News continue to deliver this on-the-ground reporting to you, information that you're not going to get from the so-called mainstream media, please go to tamaratrial.com. So at the conclusion of day one of this trial, we were fortunate to speak with some Canadians about what they observed, given that they were in the courtroom as concerned citizens.
Tamara, how are you feeling today?
Great, Lincoln. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Ms. Lich, how are you feeling today?
Good, thank you.
It's been a long time coming.
That's it. It has.
Whoop.
Careful, guys.
Careful, guys.
Walking backwards.
You said this trial isn't about relitigating the Freedom Convoy, but about...
Tamara, what do you have to say to the supporters out here today?
Good morning.
Tamara, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
How are you feeling today, Ms. Lich?
Why wasn't this criminal?
Thank you.
You're gonna win.
How do you expect today will go?
Right. Well, I think with a compilation video, you can show just about anything. And that's why the defense lawyers were cross-examining him on that and saying, well, were you directed to look at this or that? And no, he wasn't. And in fact, he didn't disclose all of the video that he did review. And now he has a very unpleasant task. He has to go back and start to make a list of some of the video he disclosed, right? If you actually listen to him, he said it's completely unrealistic for him to review and create a list of all the video he reviewed. So he's going to try and come up with some of it, and his cross-examination has been adjourned, and we'll see where it goes from there. But with respect to this term, occupation, right now we're in a court of law. We're not in a court of public opinion. Right. And I don't think that this judge is going to be swayed one way or another by the use of the term occupation or protest. This is a very smart, intelligent judge, and that's just not going to have any influence over her one way or the other.
Well, I thought the interview actually was more helpful to Chris and Tamara than it was to the Crown. One of the issues that they were getting at was how, there was a lot of congestion in the city of Ottawa, which, yeah, there was, but what I saw on the video, which is what we worked very, very hard to accomplish, and we did, was always keep at least one safety lane open for emergency vehicles like ambulance, fire, police. And so it showed even in the video that there was cars, being able to get through. Yes, it was congested, but there was the ability for vehicles to get through on all the streets. So I thought the video evidence today was more helpful to us than I think it was to the Crown.
And it was a really good first day. A lot more happened than I thought would. We had the first witness. I thought it was just going to be procedure today, but we did have the first witness, the first major exhibit, which was then with two more exhibits that weren't supposed to happen. That took up a lot of time. And very surprisingly, the Crown presented this nice and neatly packaged presentation. They presented this 10-plus minute compilation video of people standing around, hugging, traffic moving on all the streets. If you look at that compilation video, which you can't see, unfortunately, it's a court document, the traffic's just moving. It's police drone footage of traffic moving. How is that congestion? What is that showing? That the Freedom Convoy didn't disrupt the downtown? Chris, you're gonna win, man. You're gonna win.
What's your defense? Why wasn't it criminal? What you did?
There goes the bike.
Sorry. What you're talking about,
You reminded me of something that happened in the courtroom. The police officer himself, when asked by the prosecution, said that this video montage, and I'm almost quoting here, was representative of the overall vibe or atmosphere of the Freedom Convoy. Yet, under cross-examination from the defense, he acknowledged that there were many moments that were not asked for, not included. Things like Canadians hugging each other or singing the national anthem, or kids in bouncy castles, or Canadians playing hockey on Wellington. So do you think that was a successful way to demonstrate to the judge that this video montage, in fact, was not representative of the overall atmosphere or vibe of the Freedom Convoy?
Well, I think that's what the defense lawyers were trying to do, right? And they did a good job, and they called into question his credibility on that issue. But one of the remarkable things was that when those 7 new clips were put to him in evidence, even he couldn't see why they mattered. He said they were unremarkable.
Right.
So we'll have to see what the Crown ultimately intends to do with those.
So on the occupation side, what do you think of that term? What do you think of using that word over and over again?
Well, I think it's a horrible term to use because from a military context, which is something I know quite a bit about, those are actually called mission verbs for a military context. For example, seize, destroy, occupy. Those are military verbs. They are not applicable in this context whatsoever. But that's what the legacy media and the Crown and anybody who doesn't support the convoy, they use that term specifically to try to vilify what the convoy was about. It was a protest. And so, I've always objected to that term as well because it is not a mission verb that we would have traditionally used in the military. It just doesn't apply.
And then, of course, really good there at the end with Magus, who's counsel for Chris Barber, coming in and pointing out from that same source document, because what they did is they took all these hour-plus long videos and took out the 15, 20-second cherry-picked parts that the Crown wanted for this compilation. So we went through one of those source videos, and what did we see? We saw police officers striking somebody in the back of the head, climbing over a concrete barrier to do that. Like, none of that was included in the Crown's very carefully cherry-picked presentation. And why wasn't it? We didn't see any of that. We didn't see the horses trampled, but we did see them lined up nice and pretty in front of the Chateau Laurier. We didn't see Saba being, beaten senseless. We didn't see someone getting jabbed in the back of the head with the barrel of a rifle. We didn't see any of that because they're painting a narrative in there, and it's already falling apart.
Yeah, so obviously they're going to cherry pick all of the clips that are meant to vilify and bias the judge, because there's no jury in this case, but it's meant to bias the opinion or the perspective of the judge. And so you omit all of the positive things if you're the Crown. Things like bouncy castles, hockey games, and all those other wonderful things that Canadians experienced. Because remember, the final verdict is going to lie with the judge herself. That's what they're going for. They're trying to manipulate the opinion of the judge. Right. So they'll vilify us, and they won't show all the positives in favor of showing all the negatives. And using terms like occupy and omitting bouncy castles is meant to achieve that objective.
Hey guys, can we interrupt you? Rebel News, can you share a comment with us at all about what your observations might have been after day one of this trial? Any sort of hot takes you want to share with our audience?
Unfortunately, we can't. It's important for us to keep the judge in the comments for the courtroom. So.
Gotcha. Well, maybe next time. See you for now. Guys, do you want to share a comment with Rebel News about what might have happened today? What your major takeaways might have been?
No, thank you.
How do you think that went? Honestly, nothing?
Mr. Greenspan, you are the best lawyer in Canada.
Should we-
We don't want to talk to her. We want to talk.
Okay.
We want to get your esteemed opinion on how you feel proceedings went.
What about that 11-minute montage? How compelling was that?
The trial has begun, and that's when the comments start. Stop.
If you love and appreciate the journalism that we're providing you, please contribute to us, assist us at tamaratrial.com.